Hello everyone, welcome. We are so excited. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. We are so excited to have you all guys join us today for our session on data factory and data pipelines in Microsoft Fabric. I am Nandan Hegde. I am a Microsoft Data Platform MVP from India. I am working as a data architect in my current organization, that is Accenture. And presenting along with me today is Mihail. Over to you, Mihail.
Hello everyone, and thank you for introduction, Nandan. My name is Mihail Mateev. I'm Microsoft MVP and Regional Director, and I work on data platform and Microsoft Azure from many years, maybe from the beginning. I'm very happy that today, together with Nandan, we will be able to share a little more details about Microsoft Fabric and how you can start work with pipelines. Thank you. So let's say hi to our moderator, Amit Chandak. He will help with questions and will manage most of the things to be easier for us to collect questions and to interact with all people who are joining this session. And don't forget to take these lessons in Microsoft Learn about use data factory pipelines in Microsoft. There are several short lessons and exercise related to this topic. So after our presentation, feel free to do that. You can use the URL or the barcode to scan the barcode, and you will have most of details related to this content available for learning and practicing. And also, don't miss to have additional interaction, more questions in the chat, and you can also contact us after the presentation using the social medias, and we will be glad to answer your questions. Not limits for this. Anytime we will be glad to help you to start working with Microsoft Fabric. You can also attend some of next sessions related to Microsoft Fabric. Tomorrow there will be session about data flows in Microsoft Fabric, very related to current topic. You will be able to attend also several more sessions that are available on this slide with the right schedule. So you can learn almost everything about data engineering in Microsoft Fabric using this content related to sessions dedicated to Microsoft Fabric Learn initiative. And don't forget to upgrade to Microsoft Fabric, because to start working with Microsoft Fabric, you need to have premium capacity. It is possible to be done in several ways. We will talk a little more about this later. You need to have Microsoft Fabric a subscription. You can start for free with Microsoft Fabric trial. You can use also existing Power BI premium capacity plans. This is something which also we will mention a little later. And yes, using these several ways, you can explore Microsoft Fabric capabilities. But to use all features from Microsoft Fabric, the easiest way is to start with trial account. You will be able to create this immediately without any limitations. Everyone who has um, Microsoft organization account is able to join Microsoft Fabric and to start use trial with some specifics related to organization, which also will mention a little later. So uh, we have in this session several main topics. First is to describe micro, um, Microsoft Fabric pipeline capabilities, what you can do with Microsoft Fabric pipelines, what is the difference from other ways to make some flows. After that, we will have a little more details about relatively simple scenario how to use pipelines to copy data using copy data activities. We will demonstrate how to create pipelines based on predefined templates also, because you can start with pipelines using also templates for most often seen scenarios. And we will demonstrate also how to run and monitor pipelines. Everything will be covered with um, explanation and details in our slide decks, plus demo, which we will make at the end, and we will have short demos in between. Also, don't forget to join uh, Microsoft Fabric Cloud Challenge. If you join Microsoft Fabric Cloud Challenge, you will be able covering tutorials for Microsoft Fabric to have 50% discount for DP600 Microsoft certification exam. You will receive this discount immediately when you finish these lessons, and you will be able to schedule your exam. So don't miss to do that. Actually, Cloud Challenge covers all topics around Microsoft Fabric Learn Initiative, plus several more additional areas. You can start with Cloud Challenge and to have your certification exam for 50% of the price.
And who won't be excited for a discount? Definitely. Okay. So before we move on to the depths of data pipelines, I like to provide a brief summary or brief introduction about Fabric and Data Factory as a whole. So, as most of you all might already know, that Microsoft Fabric is a SaaS tool and an all-in-one analytic solution for enterprises that covers everything from data movement to data science, real-time analytics, and business intelligence. Now, Data Factory is one of the experience within Microsoft Fabric, which comprises of two different features. One is data pipelines and another is data flows. So this session today is dedicated for the data pipelines aspect of Microsoft Fabric Data Factory, whereas tomorrow it would be with respect to data flow. So now Mihail would continue on the data pipeline aspect of the data factory.
Yeah, thank you. Data pipelines actually are features that presents a sequence of activities. They orchestrate the whole process when usually we are extracting data from some sources, and we load this data into Lakehouse. We can have many additional activities which we will be able to add in pipelines. These activities can be related to notebooks and functionalities on top of Spark. It is possible to use also scripting. It is possible to use stored procedures depending on what exactly you have in your pipeline. The difference which you need to learn between pipelines and what you will see tomorrow for data flows is that in data flows, you will see experience well known from Power BI, where with um, data flows, you will be able to load and make transformation using um, Power Query approach. So if you are experienced with Power BI and you have these preferences to work with Power Query, maybe the session tomorrow also will be very interesting for you. Now we will use pipelines where actually we will define pipelines. We will have copy data activities, and we will add different additional activities that can be based on different technology in the context of Microsoft Fabric. So we have options in this way to have ETLs which have a variety of scenarios, and we will be able to use different technologies, but using Microsoft Fabric pipelines, you will have no need to actually know in details how to integrate these technologies, how to configure different services. Everything is done on one abstraction layer on top of all these services, and you can relatively easy make these pipelines combining different types of activities. So let's now go a little more into details. Um, as I already mentioned, pipelines encapsulate sequence of activities. For example, we will have uh, data flows where we are making data copy. We will be able to have cleaning of data. We will be able to have data transformation using, for example, notebooks on top of Spark. Um, the graphical interface allow you in simple way to make the whole flow with easy to understanding sequences and to be relatively easy for you to add new functionalities as actions without need to make any specific configuration. So pipelines in general have several groups of um, specific elements. One is activity. Activities are groups of functionalities that can be done with different technologies encapsulated in abstracted container that is presented here like activity. Activities can be transformations and logic based on notebooks, for example. It could be some logic using script. It could be some also ready for use out of the box activities like delete data, for example. Parameters are elements that allow you to adapt one already created pipeline for different cases, for different data sources, and to be possible also to have uh, conditional logic in execution of the pipeline. We will demonstrate this. For example, we can have pipeline where we, we are using parameters for different input sources and also for destination tables in Lakehouse. Pipeline runs. Every time when we start pipeline, uh, there is execution that can be uh, after that analyzed if there are some errors. It is possible to have monitoring, and it is possible also to see the history of previous runs. It is possible to rerun it. It is possible to have reporting based on results from pipeline runs. It is possible also to have scheduling of pipeline runs. So depending on specific logic, these pipelines can be executed in specific time, or it can be possible also to have triggering of specific pipeline if there are some changes in your data, for example. So let's go a little more into details around copy data activity. Copy data activity
So
is
Mihail,
one,
bef-
yeah,
can we take over the demo of the pipelines before the copy data, if possible?
yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mihail. So basically, let's go on how to go across and create our first pipelines and go across the other aspects of activities, parameters, and the pipeline runs. Correct. So basically, those who are familiar with the Power BI homepage, correct? In case if you all have to go across to the data factory experience, so what you need to do is at the left bottom corner, go and click on the Power BI icon, and then it allows you to switch across to the new experience or to the data factory experience. So that's how you will go to the data factory aspect. Or there is another way wherein Microsoft Fabric has its own homepage. So within that homepage, you would be directly able to go to the data factory experience. So within the Microsoft Fabric, this is the data factory experience. So now let's go and create our first pipeline. If you see currently, when I switched over to the data factory experience, it provides me two features of the data factory. One is the data pipeline and another is the data flow gen 2. So this session, it is specific for the data pipeline. So let's go and create our first data pipeline. But before we do that, if you see, this data pipeline aspect is currently mapping to my personal workspace, not the workspace that I intend to create. So first step would be go to the specific workspace. So I have a workspace called Microsoft Learn, which I've created specific for this. So here there's nothing. So now there are two ways how you can create your data pipeline. Either you saw the previous aspect wherein there was a data flow gen 2 and a data pipeline. You can either click on that, or from this drop down, go and create your first pipeline. Click on the data pipeline aspect. So now let's give it a name, Microsoft Learn Pipeline 1. So this is how you create your pipeline. Now this would take over to the home canvas of our data pipeline. Now for some of you all who already have an experience in some of the PaaS version of the Microsoft tools, that is Azure Data Factory or Synapse Pipeline, this might be somewhat similar experiences for you all. So the data pipeline version in Microsoft Fabric is somewhat equivalent to the data factory, the PaaS version of the data factory, or the pipeline version in the Synapse Analytics workspace. Now, as you all can see, this is the homepage for the data pipelines aspect. Now, I have to create some of the activities. Now, there are two ways how you can start building up your flow. Correct. First is add the activities. Now, for activities, there is a separate tab which gives you a list of all the activities. or you can go and click on the add pipeline activity. And there are different type of activities in data pipelines that are grouped in certain categories based on the specific actions that they can do. What I mean by that is, as you can see, these are the list of activities that are present for the data pipeline. Now, every activity is grouped on the action that they are performing, like move and transform. So within move and transform, we have three activities: copy data, data flow, and delete data. That either moves the data from one source to a sync location or cleans up the data from particular aspects. Then there are some metadata and validation aspects, control flow aspect, which helps you control the flow of your execution by having a wait timer or switch across multiple scenarios or go on certain iteration of activities via either for each or until activity. So there are multiple such activities. So all the activities in this resemble to the activities that is present in the PaaS version of the data factory or Synapse pipeline, except for these two, wherein this notifications category, which comprises of Office 365, Outlook, and Teams, is specific for Microsoft within Microsoft Fabric pipelines that helps you to send notifications via email or Outlook activity to for email notification or to ping in Teams chat or channels. Isn't this awesome? Wherein earlier for us in the past version of the activities, we had to explicitly integrate some third party tool like Logic Apps, Azure Functions to send email notification. But with these two activities in Fabric, it's a simple aspect of configuring the corresponding Teams or the Outlook account. And voila, you can send the notifications based on the pipeline's outcomes. So let's go and add certain activities now. So let me first add a lookup activity. So now lookup activity is basically that helps you go and do certain lookup aspects in your sources. Correct? I we won't be covering each and every activity and its configuration, but in general, what activity and how the flow comprises. Now, post lookup activity, if I have to add another activity, you can click on the arrow and add another activity. So I'll be doing a copy activity. Now, this connectivity that you are seeing is what we call as dependencies. Now, Data Factory supports four types of dependencies between the activities that can be used to control the execution flow of the connected activities within the same pipeline. What do we mean by that? Now, as you can see, there are four different types. One is on skip, on success, on failure, and on completion. Meaning, as of now, this configuration is in case if this activity is success, then only proceed to the next activity, that is copy data activity. Now, rather than just creating a new activity from here, I can also go and select an activity, filter an activity from here. Let's say I want to add a fail activity. I can select this, then I can drag, and then I can add certain aspects. Now here, rather than linking the dependency on success, what I'll do is I'll add an on failure activity, meaning in case if this lookup activity fails, it would follow this route. So this is what we call as dependencies within the data factory between the activities. Now, what does this mean, dependencies? So let me add another activity. How does this actually work? So now, if you see, I have two activities, that is a script activity and a lookup activity, tagged, both output tagged to the copy activity. What it means is the copy activity won't be executed until and unless the script activity and the lookup activity both are successful. So this acts as a logical and, meaning script activity and lookup activity should be a success for it to proceed to the copy data activity. Now, you can also add, based on the arrow here, you can also insert activities in between. So let's say I insert a delete activity. So this is how you would be adding all the activities and interlinking and creating your data flow and the control flow aspect. Now, moving to the next aspect, that is parameters and variables. At the bottom, as you all can see, correct, there's something called as parameters and variable. And as Mihail mentioned, parameters are defined at a pipeline level and cannot be modified during a pipeline run. Then what are pipeline variables? So basically, pipeline variables are values that can be set and modified during a pipeline run. And those can be used to store and manipulate data during a pipeline run. So let's see one of the aspect. So for now, I'll say temp parameter and okay, of type, of course, you have to define by default the type is string, correct? I'll declare a variable called temp variable of type string. Now, let's use an activity called set variable activity. Okay, it's since it's already here. So this is my set variable activity that helps me to set up the variable. So I'll be selecting the variable and I'll be adding a dynamic content to it. You can have a dynamic content or you can have a static content to a variable depending on what you need. So in this scenario, we'll be providing it the parameter value. Okay. So as from the temp parameter section, I'll provide it this. Now, if I want to run a pipeline, so this is my pipeline wherein I'm providing a parameter value to a variable. Now you can have a predefined value to a parameter. Let's say Microsoft Learn. But that parameter value can be updated or modified during the pipeline, before the pipeline execution. What do I mean by that? So now let's go to the run aspect of how we want to run a pipeline. So first it will ask me to save the pipeline and then run. So now, as you all can see, during the run execution, it is asking me to provide the parameter value. If I click OK to take the default value that was provided earlier, or I can provide a new value, Microsoft Learn POC, and I'll click OK. So now during the pipeline execution, the parameter value cannot be updated, but that values would be updated to the variable during the runtime itself. Now you can see that in the output section, you can see that the pipeline is under execution as of now. And this here, the pipeline status with the green tick suggests that the pipeline got succeeded. Anyhow, we would cover in detail in some time ahead on how to check all the historical details, etc. But for now, as you all can see, that this is the output. The temp variable got associated with the parameter value which we provided at the runtime rather than the default value. So this is how we can validate all the details of the pipeline run. And we will cover the detailed aspect in further sessions of this. So now over to you, Mihail.
Thank you. So use the copy data activity. Actually, this is one of the most popular scenario when we want to have pipeline and to copy data from supported sources into our lake. Give me 1 second. So we will be able to have these activities as Nandan will present after a few minutes, just with few clicks, because Microsoft Fabric supports a lot of um, different sources. So you can have direct choice between different sources. Also, you have some general um, sources. That means, for example, for FTP, HTTP, REST, you will be able to use source where with simple configuration, you will be able to adapt these sources to many different scenarios. To take, for example, data from newsfeed using REST, to get data from different web services using again REST or HTTP, to get data from FTP server using generic FTP and other similar. Destination actually can be not only um, a lake. It is possible to have different destination because Microsoft Fabric allows you platform where you can connect different inputs and different destinations. But the main scenario is when we actually collect um, data from some sources and put this data into Microsoft Fabric. In this case, we will have need to configure just where exactly into our lake house will be stored the data. And this kind of activity is considered to be done without any transformation in between. Usually in more complex pipelines, we have first loading of data using similar functionalities, and after that we are applying on already imported data different transformations using activities based on notebooks or scripts or some out-of-the-box activities. This is maybe the most important which you need to know about copy data activities. Now, Nandan will demonstrate actually how you can do this with several clicks.
Okay, thank you, Mihail. So now moving over to the copy activity. So as Mihail mentioned, copy activity is basically an activity that helps you move the data from a source to a destination, or what we call as sink. So this it's majorly used activity when we want to do data migrations from from your on premises to your cloud environment, or from one system to another system. Correct. So on the demo aspect, so this for now I have preemptively created a new pipeline with a name as copy demo. Correct. So there are two ways how you can go across with a copy activity. One is the copy wizard. Correct. And this here, if you click here, or within the activities here, if you see copy data, there is a use copy assistant tool. So you can either click here or click here for you to leverage the copy assistant tool, or the copy wizard, what we call as. So now in this aspect, we'll be going through the copy wizard. It takes certain time to load on that aspect. So now, as we said, data factory is basically for data movement and transformations. So copy activity is basically to do the data movement as is. So what if, okay, I see that it's already there. Now, as a source, there are some predefined sample data set that Microsoft provides, correct? Or there are also data sources that are categorized based on the categories of the data sources. Like in case if the source is your databases, or if it is Azure storage layers, etc. So there are different types of categories. So either you can scroll across and select the specific one, or you can filter on the specific type that you need. But in this demo, we would be selecting one of the sample data, that is the COVID-19 data lake aspect. Now, when you select the source, it shows you, it provides you a preview of the data that is existent in the source, meaning the headers and the data, all the data that is available. It's not the entire data, but a sample data that it provides in the preview aspect. So now click on next. Now I want to select a destination. So for this scenario, I'll temporarily select an Azure Blob Storage. Now there is something called as connections. What do you mean by connections? Connections are setup, or what you can say as configurations to connect to your source or destinations. So those familiar with Data Factory or Synapse pipelines, this is somewhat equivalent to the linked service aspect of the Data Factory and the Synapse pipeline. So for now, I already have an existing connections with me for connecting to my a blob storage. Correct? I'll be selecting that. But you can also create a new connection, wherein the new connection would go and ask you for, similar to how the link service used to ask, correct, your storage URL. Then this is the connection name that you can provide your definition and the different types of authentication via which you want to connect. So it can be anonymous in case if there is no security enabled, account key, organizational, service principal, etc. This provides an additional aspect which was not available in Data Factory, that is organizational account. And this is common for most of the connectivities. But for this demo purpose, I'll be leveraging an existing one that I already have created. Correct? And via test connection, I can check whether the existing connection that I had already configured is a success, or do I need to go and edit that connection myself. So now, as you all can see that the connection is successful, meaning the connection is still active. So let me proceed to the next aspect. Now it would provide you to provide, it would ask you to provide in which container or which location do I need to provide. So in this case, let's select Microsoft Fabric folder to load my data. And what should be the file name? Let's select Microsoft learn.csv. Now there are copy behavior. For now, since we are copying the file as is, it would be kept as is. But there are three different types. What does this signify? One is flatten hierarchy. Now in JSON, flatten hierarchy is used when you want to flatten the JSON into a flat structure, semi-structured data. The merge files. Imagine within the same folder, source folder, you have multiple files present across with you all. And in the destination, you want to merge everything into a one common file. So that's where you would use the merge files copy behavior activity. And preserve hierarchy. Imagine in your source, you have multiple subfolders. Within subfolder, there are multiple folders within folders, and there are files. And you want to copy the all the files and folders as is. That is, you want to preserve the hierarchy that was present in the source into your destination. So that's when you use the preserve hierarchy aspect. But for in this case, it's simple copy movement, and hence I'll be clicking on next. So now this is checking the configuration between both the source and the sync. And it asks me to what should be the file format in the destination. It can be a delimited, Avro, JSON, Parquet, etc. And what type, since it's a delimited text that I've selected, it asks all for all the details, like what delimiter within the delimited text format I should select, etc. etc. And header, what is the source header that would be present in the now if you see, this provides us of what the source is and what the connection sync is, all the details. And now in case if I want to, once I click on save and run, if I want to start the data transfer immediately, I can have this arrow enabled, or I can disable this. So now I can click on save and run, and this would go and create the copy activity and start its execution. Now as you all can see that successfully running the copy activity, and you can check its status in the output section as we had seen earlier. Now this was leveraging the copy assistant tool. Now then, now you can see it's in currently currently queued status, meaning it's under execution. It's in progress for now. Now there is another way how you can configure the copy, it to the canvas. And then you can provide the necessary source details. So I can go and select which source I need to connect to. In case in our scenario, it was a sample data set. I can go and click on the sample data set and browse through the sample data set. I can select external data sets, meaning I can go and create certain new connections that I need, similar to how we had seen across the data categories. You can add the necessary destination in which you want to add. Now, what is the difference between external and workspace? Between both source and destination. So external are all the PaaS version or any external environment that you want to connect to. But the workspace aspect is within Fabric, as most of you all might be familiar. In case if not, I'll give a brief aspect that there's certain other experiences of data engineering, which is a lakehouse, KQL database, and warehouse that we can create within Microsoft Fabric workspace. And in case if you have created anything and if you want to do data movements between this aspect, you can select the workspace, the necessary feature of that workspace, and then create a new connection or add an existing connection if there is already any corresponding to lakehouse. And then this mapping section helps us to create a mapping between the source and the destination, meaning in case if you want to add certain additional one-on-one mapping, if a column names are different, you can provide a one-on-one mapping between which column should map to which column in the sync. So this is how you can leverage the copy data activity. And this would take certain time, since it's what Mihail had said, that you all can create your own version, free trial version, correct? And mine is a free trial version, and hence the capacity is slow. So it might take
Correct.
certain time. So Mihail, over to you.
Thank you. Let's switch the slide deck. Okay, so
Continue on the
um,
next aspect of pipeline run.
yes, let's talk about pipeline templates. Pipeline templates are very useful preset configurations where you can create pipeline based on already um, initial configuration, which is able to be selected from the web interface. And you will be able, for example, to copy data from some popular data source to popular destination type, or to have some other more often used scenarios like ready components. When you select template, it is possible actually choosing the template to have a pipeline with several components which otherwise you need to select, combine, and configure independently. So in general, templates help us to have better productivity, to make the things simpler for implementation, and to make the things um, very easier for everyone who is starting to work with Microsoft Fabric. So these kind of combinations you can see after maybe not even minutes but seconds, demonstrated again from Nandan. He has also to show you some interesting information about how to start with pipeline templates.
Okay, thank you, Mihail. So now over to the demo section. Now, before we move to the demo aspect, the I'll move over to the copy activity. Correct. And see, in case if I have to switch over multiple aspects, correct, at the left corner you can see within the same workspace it provides me to move across the different experiences within the Microsoft Fabric workspace. No need to go back every time, back and forth again. You can switch across, and no need to have separate tabs. You can switch across from here itself. So now the copy data activity that we executed got succeeded. Now, if I want to view the run details, we will cover in a further section post this aspect. But now this provides me an aspect that this was the amount of data in the copy activity, since it's a copy of data from ingress and egress activity, correct? So in the input, you are able to see what the source is and its settings are and what the destination is. And in the output section, you can see how much amount of the data was read, how much was the data written, files read, files written, number of rows copied, read and copied across both source and sync. Correct. So the additional details that you would be able to see, that you can even log based on your architectural designs. Now moving over to the template aspect. As Mihail mentioned, that templates are certain predefined configurations based on certain common use cases that we see in our day in day out scenarios. Correct. So rather than building the pipeline from the scratch, you can leverage some of the existing templates or existing framework that has already been provided by Microsoft in the form of templates in the Microsoft Fabric. So how to go and create your template? So in this home canvas, you can see the third aspect, that is choose a task to start. So click on that. So that would take you to a variety of templates, or templates are equivalent to the use cases flows, correct? Now the bulk copy from database, meaning you have to copy multiple aspects of from source to a database, or you want to copy from the data lake to the lake house, correct? So these are some of the generic use cases that are already present. So in this example, we would take the delete files older than 30 days. Basically, in most of the organization, we do have a policy, correct, to clean up redundant data as a part of some GDPR or data governance aspect. So this delete old files older than 30 days. So I'll click on next. So in this, I just need to provide the connection details as to what, in this case, since there is only one connection that I need to use, hence it's showing me only one connection. But in case if there are certain copy activities, it would ask you to provide all the details for all the connections. So in this case, it's configured basically with respect to Azure Blob Storage. I'll be leveraging my existing Azure Blob storage connection that I had demoed earlier, correct? And then I'll be leveraging this connection and I'll be using this template. This would automatically go and create the pipeline. In this case, it was just one activity, but you can see the multiple parameters, meaning I can provide the parameters wherein which path I need to go and delete, which folders I need to delete, do I need to go at a subfolder level, etc., etc. And there are also certain settings. If I click here, correct, you can see everything is parameterized, correct, and it is saying that delete all files recursively. If you see, the recursive is checked, meaning in this path, delete all the files that are older than 30 days and delete not only at the base folder but all the subfolders as well. And in case if you want to make certain changes, the template provides you the basic configuration details that has been configured in generic aspect, but you might have to make certain custom changes on the template. You can go and proceed that. So in this case, I can go and disable logging aspect because I do not want to log any of the files that I have deleted. And then I can go and save it and run explicitly. So you can go and make your custom changes in the template. Template is just a way of providing you a ready-made flow in case if you're using any existing one. Mihail, over to you.
Thank you. Let's continue to the next specifics, how to run and monitor pipelines. And Nandan already demonstrated part of these functionalities, but let's go a little more into details, and after that we will have one time more demonstration. So when we have pipelines, one of the important things is to validate the technical correctness of our pipelines. That doesn't mean that always the logic which we are targeting with specific pipeline will be exactly as we want, but technically pipeline will be executed without some errors regarding to um, incompatible formats or some wrong settings. So it is possible to validate your pipelines, checking this using canvas where you are actually designing the pipeline. This is one of the things which is good to be done before to run pipelines. And second is when you are running your pipelines, you have the full history and you are able to actually um, check every run to see input, output. Nandan already demonstrated this on the previous demo. It is possible to rerun specific execution of your pipeline because sometimes it is possible to have scenario that based on different runs you have different data, different specifics. Sometimes you need to be able to make the same execution again, to make some checks, to make some analysis, and you are able to gather this information and in the future to make analysis related to run history. This is what you need to know about how to validate and run pipelines. And maybe here also Nandan can demonstrate some specifics with hands-on demo.
Okay. Thank you, Mihail. So over to the demo aspect. Correct. So now let's cover three aspects. That is validation aspect, and then the run aspect, and then the scheduling aspect. So what do we mean by validate? In the earlier pipeline, it's up till now the pipeline demo that we showed you all, correct? It was a simple one or two activities, correct? And that we already knew across. But imagine in your day in day out activity, a day in day out processes, it won't be just simple one or two, it would be a major flow across, correct? So there might be multiple control flows executions. So there might be a scenario that you might have missed out on certain configuration aspect, etc, etc. So rather than you executing and then debugging, the validate helps you to check whether all the necessary or mandatory aspects of your pipeline are in place or not. So what do we mean by that? So if you see, let me add an activity here. So let's take a fail activity here. Sorry. So now, as you can see here in the settings, there is a red symbol that's being shown, correct? That these are the two mandatory aspects that are blank as of now. So these are mandatory aspect. But now let's go and check rather than I manually validating, correct? So there are two ways how you can check. You can click on validate here. So this would show me that, okay, there are two aspects that are still not clear because of which the pipeline may not be successful. So if you go and click here, it would go and take you to the corresponding set where the corresponding error is redirecting to. So now let's add a fail message that validate demo, correct? So now it shows me that the corresponding failure validation has been fixed here. Now let me see the second one. In this case, since both the validations are mapping to the same activity, hence, but there might be scenario that this might be spread across different activities as well. So let me add some random number. Hola, this shows me as fixed. But you can go and check it again. Wherein now if I click on validate, it would show me that the pipeline has been validated. And then you can go and execute the run activity. You can go and run your pipeline. There is another way as well, wherein you can check. If you go on the run aspect here also, in the run tab within that, you can go and check the validation status, and then you can go and run your activity. So it would again ask me to save and then execute it. So this is how the validate aspect within the tool helps us to provide preemptive messages in case if there is some missing aspect. Now, if you see, since this was a fail activity, it explicitly failed the pipeline. Hence, the pipeline status is in failed. Now, how to check all the historical runs? How to check the details, the run details, correct? So this execution that we are able to see here is the latest execution, but this same pipeline might be executed multiple times throughout the history as well, correct? So how do we validate that? So there is within the run aspect, there is a tab called view run history. So if you go and check the view run history tab, it would show me that this pipeline has been executed 3 times. One is, and all three by me, and these were the statuses. One was succeeded, one was failed, and another is a not started status. Correct. So this helps us check all the historical runs. And if you want to go in detail, you can go to the monitoring hub of the aspect wherein it would provide you all the necessary details corresponding to that corresponding time. Now, one thing is whenever you execute a pipeline, there is something called as a pipeline run ID. A new GUID run ID gets generated every time for every run. So this is a unique ID that gets generated on every execution of a pipeline. Now, this is a status aspect. Now, in case if I want to check what is the overall pipeline failure, correct? I can go and check that one of the activity has failed. This provides me a granular detail of the different activity and its statuses, wherein I can check the input and the output of the corresponding activities. And then in case if there is a failure, I can go and check what is the failure message associated with that activity. So in this case, the failure was a user configuration issue since we had explicitly created a fail scenario. And there is another way as well. You can view the run details as well here. This states that I am the owner of this pipeline. It was run by me, manually executed. This was the start time, end time, and it is in the failed status since one of the activity had failed. So this is how we would be able to check across the different executions. Now coming to the final aspect, that is the scheduling on how to schedule it. But before the scheduling aspect, there is one thing that I wanted to cover, which we missed out, was with respect to connection, or what we call as the linked service equivalent, correct? Now, unlike Azure Data Factory and Synapse pipelines, wherein we could parameterize the link services, in Fabric, as of now, these are hard-coded aspect. There is a plan that eventually that too would be parameterized, but as of today, the connections are hard-coded and cannot be parameterized. Now, the second aspect of connection is, okay, sorry, this would take over to another preemptive pipeline that I had already created, correct? So let's give it a minute here. So unlike Azure Data Factory, wherein the linked service is a common aspect of the offering as a whole, correct? User who has created that connection. Since I had created that connection, it would be under my configuration aspect. Correct. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for this to load. Now, in ADF, in case anyone having contributor access to the data factory or the Synapse pipeline can go and make edits within the existing pipelines without any issues. But okay, okay, it's loaded, correct? Now, here if you see, this belongs to a workspace, this pipeline is called connection POC, and this belongs to a workspace called connection POC. Now, the current ID from which I have logged in has similar access to another account that is already present in this workspace, and this pipeline was configured by that another account, and hence the activity that is associated with this, sorry, the connection that is associated with this activity was configured by that account, and hence when I am trying to access via different account to this pipeline, it provides me a message that you cannot access one or more connections used in this data pipeline. You can either ask the data pipeline owner to grant this permission to all the connections. Meaning, if you go and check this lookup activity, there is a connection that is created within the Fabric tenant by a user who has same access in this workspace as the current logged in user, but the connection is not shared across. That's one thing that we need to take into consideration. But does that mean that I can't go and execute this pipeline? No, I can go and execute this pipeline because it would take the connection that is configured. But in case if I have to make certain changes, unfortunately, I won't be able to do that.
It seems that we have
There is something called as
some connection issues
connections.
with you, Nandan. So Nandan demonstrated how to make actually validation, how to check run history, and how to schedule your pipelines. And now it is time for end-to-end demo where we will try to make demonstration of everything which we already uh, show step by step. And in this demo, I will present how we will get data from a specific data source. We'll add this data into Lakehouse. We'll make transformations using notebooks, and we'll add additional activities to delete old files. We will stay with demo slide, and I will add on top um, just my web browser, and we'll try to switch to full size mode, maybe in this way. So let's start with demo. As already Nandan demonstrated, it is possible to make it in several different ways to start work with your Microsoft Fabric. But one of the most important thing is to have um, already defined workspace. So I will start with um, this. I will make initially one workspace. Let's name it, for example, Learn Together Microsoft Fabric. It is possible to have additional parameters to assign domain to this workspace. We will not do this at the moment. It is not uh, important for our demo, but we have several important details here. And it is mostly up to premium capacity. As you see, if we go to advanced options, we have several different license modes. We have trial, which actually currently I'm using for Microsoft Fabric trial subscription, where you are able for 2 months to use all features of Microsoft Fabric. And using trial, actually, you will be able to assign capacity for your workspaces. You are able to use also other premium capacities if you are Power BI user and have already assigned capacities to your account for managing. you are able to use, for example, premium per user from Power BI. You are able to use also Power BI embedded if you are using Microsoft Azure with Power BI embedded service. The most important is to know that pricing for different type of premium capacities is calculated in slightly different way. We covered this several days ago with initial session related to learn together Microsoft Fabric. So I will not go into details, just mentioning the specific. So let's make our workspace. And when our workspace is already created, we can actually go to home, for example, and to create a new lake house. Let's name the lake house. It's not important for the demo. You can choose any type of lake house name. It takes short time to have lake house created. You see that in the Explorer part, we have two groups of elements, files and tables. Now we have no any additional elements. I will add for files one new subfolder, new data. This subfolder is used in the next steps to actually copy data from our pipeline with copy data activities. So now we can go to a new data pipeline. And let's name the pipeline ingest sales data. If everything is going without some errors, we need to go into this screen where we will be able to manage data sources and in the next step destinations plus additional settings. For the data source, we will get source from one online service. So we will create a new connection. I will use one already prepared file with sales data and will demonstrate how to make the connection from the scratch. So we need to set connection name. Connection name is important for next steps if we need to use this connection also for other tasks. We will use basic authentication without settings for username and password, just for demonstration purposes. On the next step, we are waiting several seconds because our data is analyzed. We can give also additional parameters like relative URL from this source. If we have something in subfolders from this URL, we have not something specific here. We are using get method. We have no additional headers. We have, in the current case, no timeout restrictions, no settings for concurrent connections. Going next. Here, we need to have format for data source. It is possible also to detect format automatically if, for example, we have text, but this will give some assumptions that not always are what exactly we are doing. Let's demonstrate it. So it is analyzed that we have text with column delimiter, comma, row delimiter. Here we will change to new line. We will use first row as header. We will not use any kind of settings for compression. And let's see on preview how our data will look. Going to the next step, we will use settings for the destination. Existing lake house. I already created this lake house a few minutes ago. If you have in your workspace more lake houses, it is possible to make configuration, because in our demo here we created new workspace and only one lake house. We have only one available option. So we will go into the next step where we will use for destination files. We will use the subfolder which we created. It is possible also to use browse. So we need to specify the file name. And we will not make settings for copy behavior. Let's go to the next step. The next step, we need to make settings for data destination connection, delimited text, comma for column delimiter. We will make small changes for row delimiter. And we will add header to the file. We will have no compression. Go to next and save and run. It will take a few seconds. You are seeing that simple pipeline is running. You are seeing the status on the lower part. You see the output, and we are waiting till this pipeline is already executed successfully. So, if we go again to our lakehouse, it should be, I need just to refresh the browser. Yeah, we have new data. Give me a second. F11. I will refresh it for the moment. Okay, and we have this data already available in new data folder. So we already have our data in Lakehouse. Let's now make modification of our Lakehouse, of our pipeline, sorry. We will create one notebook. Notebook will be used to make some transformations. Notebook works on top of Apache Spark, but you have no need to configure Apache Spark and to know many things about this. You need to be focused on exact business logic, which we need to execute. Lakehouse is here. One important moment is that we will work with data from Lakehouse. So we need to add the Lakehouse, which we already created. We want to have table, which we'll name sales, and we'll use it like parameter for our already transformed data. I will add additional cell where I will copy already prepared Python code. So what exactly this code is doing? We have reading the data which is imported. After that, we are adding two more columns for month and year. After that, we actually use separate columns for name and last name. We are making filtering, and after that we are loading the whole data into the table cells, which will appear under the tables in our Explorer. Let's now run all cells in our notebook.
So Mihail, by the time the notebook, since the notebook is now getting executed, creating that cluster and running that might take certain time, correct?
Yes, correct.
So,
First
uh,
time it takes a little more time. Yeah, thank you
correct.
for the note.
So, parallelly, can we move over to the demo aspect that I can show over at that time? Okay. So, Sorry for the disconnect in between. So as we were discussing, correct? So the connection is specific to the authority aspect, and I'll show how we can share that. And the another thing that we missed out on, scheduling aspect. Now the run that we executed was a manual execution, correct? But you can also schedule the pipeline. So in the run section, there is a schedule aspect wherein you can enable the schedule and select the frequency at which it needs to be executed. It can be minute, hourly, daily, and weekly. And you can set up the corresponding schedules as and how you need. Now, unlike Azure Data Factory and Synapse, wherein you had tumbling window and event-based trigger, as of today, data pipelines in Fabric does not support that. But there is a vision wherein it would be added eventually with respect to that configuration aspect. And in case if you want to share a connection, so within the settings aspect of the Power BI, there is something called as manage connections and gateway. So you move over to that aspect. And if you see, there are multiple connections that I have created. So I can go and click here and manage the user and share with whom I need to share that connection for him or her to leverage it. So this is how, unlike link services wherein anyone could take over the contributor access, here the connection, the owner who had created that has to share it with his or her colleagues before she can make any changes. And the final aspect is the data pipeline that we created, correct? Where is it? The JSON code. So if you go to the view section of the home canvas, you can go and check the view JSON code here. This would provide you the entire JSON template of that pipeline. But one aspect that unlike Data Factory and Synapse, as of today, this is just read only. You cannot edit it. So every time you have to create that pipelines yourself. So over to you, Mihail, now.
Thank you. We are continue with the demo. Actually, everything is already completed with our notebook execution. So I'm going again into the same place. You see that all operations which are done based on the logic into the cells is already um, under the cells and status is succeeded. Now we can go into tables. Again, sometimes because of the refreshing of the UI, we need to op, cancel, sorry. We need to go again to refresh. Okay, the web interface, and now we already can see here sales table with all details. Um, Actually, you can see preview. You can see how data is arranged into the table. So with this pipeline, which we already created, we demonstrated how we can have more than one step. We have copy data activity, and after that, we will add into the pipeline this notebook to be possible to have end-to-end scenario. Let's go back to our homepage.
So
Let's
Mihail,
go.
since we are
Yeah.
on the time, the users can go through the exercise themselves, correct? So here in the next
Yes.
part, we would be basically triggering a
I w-
notebook activity. So for now, can we
eh,
move over to the slides?
just 1 second to show actually how it looks, and we will go back. So I can show you. I will not spend more time, but You can have complex pipeline. Just few seconds. You can see here copy data. You can see here notebook. We are able to add additional activities like deletion of data, and in the sample are added also more elements like condition. If, for example, our pipeline at the moment is started in some specific timeline interval, we are going to proceed with data transformation, otherwise not. So that was the most important related to the demo. And now we are switching to the last part, which is up to knowledge check. For the knowledge check, we have several questions very similar to what you have in the certification exam. You can vote using this URL, https aka.ms/polls, and we will see summary of your um, votes. And yes, at the end, we will share the answers. So the first question is, what is a data pipeline? And we have three possible answers. A special folder in one lake storage where data can be exported from a lakehouse. B, a sequence of activities to orchestrate a data ingestion or transformation process, and C, a saved power query. So you have a little time to do polls, and we will show the answer after that.
Oh, I, I see most
We are
of them are
feeling,
on the target.
yeah, actually, most of people choose the right answer. So the right answer is answer B. Actually, data pipeline is a sequence of activities to orchestrate a data injection or transformation process. Next, go to the next question. You want to use a pipeline to copy data to a folder with a specified name for each run. What you should do? A. Create multiple pipelines, one for each folder name. B. Use a data flow Gen 2. C. Add a parameter to the pipeline and use it to specify the folder name for each run. So you are able again to poll using the same link.
Okay, so Matt, now
And
we can display the answer.
so the right answer is C. Add a parameter to the pipeline and use it to specify the folder name for each run. It is something which Nandan demonstrated a little earlier, how to make parameters, and most of you did the right vote. Let's have the last question, question 3. You have previously run a pipeline containing multiple activities. What's the best way to check how long each individual activity took to complete? A. Rerun the pipeline and observe the output timing each activity. B. View the run details in the run history. And C. View the refreshed value of your lakehouse's default dataset.
Let's reveal the answer, Mihail. Now, so
So
it's
the right answer is B. View run details in the run history. It is something which already Nandan demonstrated, and you can do this pretty easy. So, short summary, what we did in this session. We described the pipeline capabilities in Microsoft Fabric. We demonstrated how to use copy data activity in a pipeline. You saw how to create pipelines based on predefined templates, how to run and monitor pipelines, and yeah, we demonstrated different scenarios, including all these functionalities. At the last place, resources which you are able to use for your information for Microsoft Fabric and data pipelines. You are able to go into documentation using this link, https aka.ms/aam4j3h. This will be something which you can see later in the recording. And resources for Learn Initiative are available here using this link. So don't wait. You can start do your training immediately. You can get the exercises. You can join Cloud Challenge initiative, get discount for your certification exam, and get the exam. This is the most important. And tomorrow you will be able also to learn more about how to ingest data with data flows Gen 2 in Microsoft Fabric. Nandan, that's your time.
Okay. So thank you all for joining this session and enjoy tomorrow's session on ingest data with data flow Gen 2 in Microsoft Fabric. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much from my side. It was a pleasure to be at this session. Thank you, Nandan, for amazing demos, and hope to see you soon and enjoy with Microsoft Fabric.
Thank you all.